Movie number 12 in the road to 1000 is Enemy of the State. Uh, you may have watched the last video that was at Enemy at the Gates, and then I watched Enemy of the State, which is kind of a wild two movies to watch back to back. I don't know how that happened. It was just in the list of movies on my friends' Plex accounts. I was like, oh, this one, and just watch them in order. But Enemy of the State is a Will Smith movie from 1998, and my memory on this was actually pretty bad. I thought this came out before Independence Day and before Men in Black. Like it was an early, let's make Will Smith kind of a movie star film, but it actually came out after those. So it was Will Smith's already a movie star, and we're putting him in this fugitive like movie to cement him, which was kind of. I remember at the time all the promotion for it, but I guess I was 11 years old and I liked Men in Black. I loved Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That was my favorite show at the time. And then, you know, what was the other one? Men in Black and Independence Day. So I was a big Will Smith fan, but I guess this being, it was an R-rated movie, I think. And wasn't something that necessarily appealed to an 11-year-old. So I remember all the trailers for it. I remember the poster for it, but I never watched it, and I've never gone back to it. So when I was going through this Plex account and just seeing some of the movies to watch, this one jumped out to me. And Tony Scott, always does a good job. I don't think I've ever watched a Tony Scott movie and been like, that was garbage. There's some I like less than others, but for the most part, I like all of them. So I was excited to catch this, and it did not disappoint. It actually made me really nostalgic for 90s films, because 2025, I haven't been really happy with a lot of the movies that have come out. They felt just very plain, very safe, very like technical in a way. Like somebody just graduated from a screenwriting class and a filmmaking class and worked together to make a movie. I'm thinking specifically about The Amateur. When I'm saying all of this, I'm thinking about bland movies like Wolfman and Amateur. And I hate to say that about Wolfman because I really loved the Invisible Man movie. I thought that was great, and honestly one of the most surprisingly quality movies of the 2020s so far. But Wolfman, Amateur, just not great. And I feel like that's been a lot of movies this year. Even something that was like stylish, like Black Bag, still felt kind of sterile in some ways. So watching Enemy of the State, Tony Scott is just so in his Tony Scott element in this one. Just all the there's been a lot of talk, if you're Twitter brained like me, you see all this talk about people being like, there's no lighting, there's no color, movies are so bland and pale these days. You watch Enemy of the State and it's just nothing but lighting, nothing but color. It's a movie that was before the Bourne era of all these fast cuts, so it's a quicker paced movie than what a lot of what we were getting in the 80s and 90s, but it's slower than what we were getting in the aughts and 2010s and even the present day. So there's something of like a sweet space that this is in, where it still feels like it has a pulse and momentum to it, but it's not frenetic in the way that Bourne made all these movies really kind of crazy and cut. I even have a hard time, I know this is going to sound crazy, but rewatching The Dark Knight, I hate Nolan's action filming. I complain about Nolan a lot, but he does all these cuts in that movie, and it's just my least favorite thing. Like, it kind of worked in the Bourne movies just like a little bit because it was different and unique, but it's such a way to hide the action when you're not really good at filming action and you don't want to put the stunt people through things. I don't know. It just doesn't land for me a lot of the time. It's not that Enemy of the State has a lot of fight scenes or anything, but there's just something about the pacing of the movie that feels really good. Especially another 90s movie that's worth watching is called Falling Down. Michael Douglas, and the line, Michael Douglas out the car now. But Enemy of the State, in that movie, you see Michael Douglas in Falling Down, and it's such a slower paced movie. It's really worthwhile. It's really good, but the pace is just a little slower. When did that movie come out? Like 1993? 1993. And then Enemy of the State is just this little bit of a faster paced movie that's like, oh, this is late 90s. This is fun. This is action oriented. You get Will Smith kind of in his bag doing his Will Smith things, but a little more refined, a little more elevated, not quite as cartoony as he was in Independence Day and Men in Black. Gene Hackman does a great job in this, bringing this gravity, like gravitas and energy that is complemented well by Jon Voight. And then Regina King's always a joy to see, especially in these early days. So Jason Lee's also in it, and Gabriel Byrne. So it's a cool cast. And the movie is really prescient. It's essentially talking about the Patriot Act before the Patriot Act ever existed. Government surveillance, the government watching us, tapping into everything. So there's a paranoia about this film and the way that the government's going to be able to spy on you through your phone, your TV, all this stuff. They're breaking into your house to install things. So there's this technology paranoia that, and by the late 90s, as technology's starting to take over our lives and everybody's having this electronics in their home, it was very fitting. But also, we're a post-Patriot Act world where these things happen, where we have phones that are in our pocket all the time and people could be listening. Maybe we have computers that are in front of us and people could be listening. They could be watching. So there's this idea of surveillance and paranoia around surveillance that feels almost quaint, that people would be paranoid about it because it just feels like something that we've accepted. So maybe at the time it was a little like overblown, but now 30 years later watching the movie, you're kind of like, it's like a reminder that it wasn't always like this, and maybe it doesn't have to be like this. And not that I'm paranoid about people listening in to me, but I don't know, I'm probably not alone in making the jokes where you say something to a friend and then you look down at your phone and you're like, that was a joke, FBI. That was a joke. But that's kind of the world we live in these days. So I feel like this is a cool example of a movie that was of the time, but now the time has progressed so much that it actually feels not quaint, but almost eye-opening in the fact that, oh, this is how it was. Huh. So definitely worth watching, I think. Just for getting that texture of the late 90s movies, but also because it's just kind of a cool movie in the thriller vein that was so popular in this era. Yeah, recommended. I think in terms of my rankings, for me, 5 is average, just like completely neutral. I'm neutral on the movie. The pros and cons balance out. A 6 means that the positives outweigh the negatives. So I'd put this in enjoyable, like a 7 out of 10. Pretty solid overall. I guess that's it. That's all that I have. Until next time, lights, camera, see ya.